In this video, we are going to discuss about the respiratory system of our body. Now, to learn about the respiratory system, we actually have to learn about the circulatory system first, about the heart, because the respiratory system and our circulatory system works together. So let's start. Here is the heart, and as we all know, the heart consists of the four chambers: right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and the left ventricle. And the blood vessels enter and leaves the heart. The blood vessel in blue here represents deoxygenated blood and contains low amount of oxygen or high carbon dioxide, and the blood vessels in red represent oxygenated blood and contains high amount of oxygen. Now this oxygenated blood gets the oxygen from the lungs. In this picture here I am representing this section as the lungs. Now outside in the air we have many type of gases including oxygen. We breathe in oxygen gas, it comes into our lungs, and breathe out carbon dioxide gas. It comes into lungs and breathe out carbon dioxide. So now as oxygen enters our blood supply, it reoxidizes the blood supply. So now we have oxygenated blood supply here in red. Oxygen travel into our body, into our heart. Then heart pumps out the oxygen and transport it to the various organs and tissues of our body. Then these tissue then take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide as the byproduct. Then blood vessels transport this carbon dioxide back to the heart, and so heart can pump it to the lungs for the gas exchange. In the atmosphere, as we all know, plants consume carbon dioxide. Here carbon dioxide is consumed by the plants and they release oxygen as byproduct. This is the main cycle. This is the whole cycle of the respiratory system and the relation between circulatory and respiratory system. Now our respiratory system can be divided into four major parts. So first one is pulmonary ventilation. In this we can see the movement of air in and out of the lungs. And the second is external respiration. In this we can see the movement of oxygen from lungs to the blood and carbon dioxide from blood to the lungs. And third is transport of respiratory gases, and respiratory gases travel around the body through red blood cells. The last phase is internal respiration. In this phase we can see the movement of oxygen from blood into tissues and carbon dioxide from tissues into blood. So I hope you can understand the difference between internal and external respiration. So now moving onwards, let's look at the basic anatomy of the lungs, the gross anatomy and the structure of the lungs. Now here we have the atmosphere again, containing many type of gases including oxygen gas. Here we have the human body. I'm gonna shade some areas so you can see the different parts of the respiratory tract. So here we have the nasal cavity, the nose cavity, this is the oral cavity, these are the pharynx, and then we have the esophagus at the back, which leads to stomach, and then we have this section, larynx. That red portion, that portion is epiglottis, and epiglottis covers the larynx when we are eating something, like when we are eating food. We breathe in oxygen gas through oral or nasal cavity, and then it goes down to our larynx, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. That cartilage area is our trachea. Then it divides into many types of branches, and that point of division is known as carina. Now here we have it, the left lung and the right lung. This is our left lung, and that is right lung and the left lung. And below the lungs we have the diaphragm muscle, which helps in the breathing process. So let's take a closer look on the lungs. Here we have the lungs. We breathe in oxygen and breathe out the carbon dioxide gas. Here we have the trachea. Then trachea will divide into primary bronchus. From this portion, this is primary bronchus. Then it further divides into many branches, secondary bronchi. Then secondary bronchi will divide it into segmental bronchi. This is our segmental bronchi. It's a cycle, and that space, this space between these two lungs, there we can see it is called as cardiac notch. This space is cardiac notch, in which heart is located. And as we all know, the right lung consists of 3 lobes, and the left lung consists of 2 lobes. Right lung and the left lung. Right lung consists of right superior lobe, middle lobe, and right inferior lobe. But the left lung consists of 2 lobes, left superior lobe and the left inferior lobe. And next, moving onwards, the last point of division is, like as we all know, this is alveolus, a ball-like structure. This is alveolus. Of course, to each of this alveoli sac, we have our blood vessels coming in and out of the lungs. And the blue one, the right one, and the blue one, blue vessels coming in, and the red one is going out. Red carry oxygen from these alveoli to the heart. This is our bronchiole, and bronchiole are covered by smooth muscle fibers, terminal bronchioles, and then these are attached with alveolus. An important terminology is that one of these balls are known as alveolus, and many of these balls known as alveoli. One ball is an alveolus, and they makes up the alveolar sac or duct. Alveoli for many balls, a group of balls. The alveoli make up the alveolar sac and the alveolar duct. So moving onwards, let's have a look. So here we have the alveolar sac, which contains many alveoli. Then we have the alveolar duct. Now moving onwards, that red pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood, and that pulmonary artery enters into the lungs. The blue one, that pulmonary artery enters into the lungs and will basically branch into alveolar sac, carries carbon dioxide. The pulmonary artery gives carbon dioxide to the alveoli and then it gives oxygen to